Guys, Auntie Bev really fucking pisses me off. I swear to God, I mean, every day it gets more and more corrupt around here. You can't even say that it's not. At this point, it is fucking mind-boggling that nobody else from a higher level is like, shut the shit down. Y'all are getting out of control. This is fraudulent. What you're doing is fraudulent. There's so many things here. And we are on the eve of Karen Reed Part 2, okay? Because we're going back for trial number 2. As y'all know, the first one ended in mistrial. Shit is just getting on my fucking nerves today. Now today, Bev decides that she is telling the defense, remember they blamed Colin Albert, Brian Albert, and Brian Higgins as a third-party culprit. She's stating that they cannot argue that Colin Albert could have been one of the men responsible for what happened to John O'Keefe. What the fuck do you mean? What do you mean? Now she goes on to say that as to Colin Albert, the defendant's proffer contains no additional evidence than that presented at the first trial, and it is insufficient to support a preliminary finding that Colin Albert had the motive, intent, and opportunity to commit the crime. Was she at the same trial that we were at? Was she there? Because I feel like, let's count the damn ways. We were so excited to hear more about Colin because now the defense getting to go up there with knowing everything that they know now, it would have been a shit show. We could have really dug in a lot further and got the answers. We all know Colin was there. We all know Colin's a hothead. We all know Colin lied on the stand. He perjured himself. Never been in a fight, y'all remember? We all remember when good old Colin Boy perjured himself and said that he had never been in a fight in his life, just sparring with his brother. And remember, they deleted all social media. He had removed everything besides Snapchat because he said he was being harassed by Turtle Boy. So the defense had asked him several times if he had ever been into a fight. He said no. But then we get this photo because he goes, of course, underage drinking at a bar and doesn't realize that the bar is posting these photos. And lo and behold, bam! Like a month after John O'Keefe, we see this, some healing knuckles, huh? Some little freaking crazy coincidence there. But he says no. He remember when he was slipping on ice and he had to brace himself with his knuckles because that's what we all do when we fall. We just, He-Man, punch the ground. Like a fucking Hulk slam. But anyways, we all knew that was full of shit. We all knew because he could not answer the defense's questions every time they were asking him valid things. None of it was lining up. Now, we already knew that he had some beef with John O'Keefe, okay? We already knew that he lived a couple doors down from him with his dad, Chris Albert, and they explained that they didn't get along. Okay, listen, no grown-ass man is going to have a problem with the 17-year-old unless that kid is a punk ass, okay? We already know that John had reported to Rafferty that there was some sort of rug action taking place on that street. And I'm like, I mean, that would be a very valid reason why you wouldn't like this fucking kid. I'm just speculating, okay? They spent so much time on the prosecution side to not put Colin in the house. Remember, he wasn't in the house, but then his family put him in the house. Remember when Allie McCabe cried like, he wasn't even there. I picked him up. Well, of course, she didn't say that until she got called out for her Life 360 and her text messages. So, you know, remember the screenshotted text messages, not even the full ones? We already questioned that, right? That was odd, too. They were supposed to turn in their phones. They all get new phones. Like, you can't even... So all they had was a screenshot between two teenage kids. Anything could be manipulated. I can send you a screenshot and delete out shit too, but yep, Auntie Bev allowed that shit to be put in there. Remember this? She testified Wednesday. She picked up Albert from 34 Fairview around 12:10 a.m. and dropped him off at the family's home. So the defense had argued around that 12:10 because they were trying to pinpoint what happened with John and what the time frame was by the time that they spotted Karen's car to, you know, the time that John's phone was last moving. So it was a brief window there, and they brought out all these witnesses to testify of why Colin wouldn't have been able to be there at that time. He had already been gone. Like, why would you even do that? Why would you even do that? It doesn't even make sense. If he's a witness, there was no need. And remember, Colin wasn't even called to testify, even though he was there that night before. He didn't even get anything on record until 18 months later, after the event had already taken place. Forget what he could have known or could have saw, because you try remembering details after 18 months. It's a little foggy until someone kind of like, feeds you the way. And of course, it was never recorded. It was all done in the comfort of his own home, conveniently. Now, somewhere in between that timeline is when John O'Keefe lost his life. Okay, well, actually, his life was stolen from him. And we already have a pretty good idea. But anyways, they already did all that. So that's why it was really critical to find out. They're saying, hey, he arrived at like 12:15 and Colin had left at 12:10. That was the whole argument the whole time, and we had to freaking hear about it so much. Why were they doing so much to not put him in the house? Why were they not wanting, and remember, he left out the backside to go through to the school. Like, she didn't even pick him up in front of the house, which is very weird. And who sends their daughter to go pick up somebody, their teenage daughter? Hey, there's a snowstorm and your cuzbo over here has been drinking. Can you come pick him up? Like, no, you're not going to do that as a mother. You're going to say, hey, you're going to have to stay here, bro. Maybe you could catch a ride when we're leaving, but like, it's not safe for you. I'm gonna call my kid. Hell no. Mrs. Google at 2:27 in the morning, though, she was up there calling and making sure that he had a ride, right? But we don't have enough. We don't have enough. Now, she goes on to say that Higgins and Brian Albert, that the defense's argument to allow their testimony is barely sufficient, and the history of the first trial casts doubt on the seriousness of the claim. We already know it is Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, and Colin Albert in the basement. What the blunt force object is, we don't know. We speculated weights, weight bench, I don't know, but it was something in that motherfucking basement, and we all know it. And it gets so frustrating because now, what do you mean we can't talk about Colin? What about them? What about all this evidence that we've already gathered about him? He perjured on the stand, said he never got into a fight. Turtle Boy offered $100 to anybody that would produce a video of this dude fighting, and he had to shut it down quick because it was getting so many. He got like at least 5 right away. So automatically you're lying. Like, you're a hot-headed kid. He was getting mad. They did a lot to prove, hey, he hated John O'Keefe. He had already been drinking at the house underage, illegally, in his uncle's home. And he was there at the time. And, hot-headed kid gets into a lot of fights. It was very easy to figure out that, you know what? Hot-headed kids get into fights all the time. Someone can look at them wrong, okay? They don't even question it. They don't fucking think. Colin is that type of a kid. Don't fucking tell me otherwise. Just in case you needed a memory refresh, so you could see him: Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Brian Higgins. So you're telling me we only get to hear it out of the 2 of them, but why does this guy not to get held responsible for his actions? Because there was a lot going on that night. There was a lot of lies that were told. There was perjury on the stand, but we don't have enough. Don't forget about this part, okay? When he got pulled out of his state dorm and gave a subpoena to testify in front of the federal grand jury, he got pulled over driving the same exact make, model, and color that Lucky, remember the plow driver, saw right in front of 34 Fairview. He notated it because he thought it was strange that there was a car parked there, knowing that he was supposed to plow. And remember, that's exactly the area where John's body was located. Fucking convenient, right? Super strange. And we all have questions here. So now we can't even question? I swear that this is so corrupt, and it gets me so frustrated. Like, I literally makes my blood boil, and I think it's because also I live in this state, so it's even more fucking frustrating. But honestly, I can't. Like, what are we even doing here? How does nobody see this? This is not fair. Why don't you see what the defense can do? It's up to the jury to decide. But we know that this kid was there. He bared witness. We know that. Okay, you could say that we don't have enough facts, but we have enough to say some shady shit went down and he was there and Uncle Proctor saved the day. Okay? Bullshit. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think about this, because this one really fired me up. And tomorrow we start jury selection. Let me know what you think. Hit all the buttons and have a good night.